Breaking the magic spell. The name of the king of Vijayanagar kingdom was Chandramadhav. He was a lover of natural beauty. He had a beautiful fort built for himself in a beautiful valley of a mountain, and it was known all around as Water Palace. There were canals with clean water flowing through around the Water Palace. There was a bridge over the canal, and across the bridge there were beautiful gardens of fruit and flower. There were small ponds in the garden in which bloomed beautiful lotuses in different colors, and beautiful fish in different colors could be seen swimming in them. The warbling of cuckoos and the calls of sparrowhawks always gave an impression of spring season in the surrounding areas. And in such beautiful valley lived King Chandramadhav with his delicate and devastatingly beautiful wife Queen Indumati in the water palace. They were very happy together. If there was anything that bothered them, it was not having an issue. This kept them worried in their advancing age. One day King Chandramadhav called for the best astrologers of his kingdom in his palace. They wanted to know if at all they were destined to have an issue. The astrologers made calculations and declared that the queen was to beget a child quite soon. This made the king and queen very happy, and they rewarded the astrologers suitably. But before leaving, the astrologer warned the royal couple, saying, Maharaj, the child will be very lucky, but you will have to take care to see that the child's feet don't touch the ground for 5 years, or else even the worst could happen. The king, hearing the astrologers speak, thus became extremely worried. But it did not last in his mind for long. He forgot his worries. After some time, soon the queen gave birth to a beautiful female child. There was a general air of happiness all around in the water palace. Every day in the palace had become a festival occasion for everyone. She was never allowed to touch the ground with her feet. The king and queen used to feel very happy to see Princess Chandramukhi. One night, Queen Indumati was sleeping with Princess Chandramukhi by her side in a bed of flowers in her bedroom. King Chandramadhav was also sleeping in his bedroom, which was by the side of Queen's bedroom. Suddenly, there was a great commotion at the break of dawn, and the king woke up. There was weeping and crying all around the palace. The king immediately rushed into the bedroom of the queen, and what he saw was enough to leave him dumbstruck. Beautiful Queen Indumati was lying dead on her bed of flowers, and Princess Chandramukhi was missing from there. All the servants and maids were weeping sorrowfully. Some bodyguards and servants were searching for Princess Chandramukhi in every corner of the palace and garden, but all in vain. Death of Queen Indumati and the mysterious disappearance of the Princess Chandramukhi had left the king heartbroken. He was plunged into deep gloom. He had the doors of the bedroom of Queen Indumati shut forever. The king had an announcement made all over his kingdom that whoever succeeded in finding out Princess Chandramukhi will be rewarded with thousands of gold coins. Despite all this, the princess could not be traced. One day, the guard of Water Palace came and informed the king that some strange happenings were taking place in the room in which Queen was found dead. Those who lived nearby heard someone weeping, whining, and walking in the room of the Queen. The pieces of information created a ray of hope in the heart of King Chandramadhav. He thought that it could help as a link and Princess Chandramukhi could be traced. So he had an announcement made that one who would stay for one whole night in the bedroom of Queen Indumati and unravel the mystery of the strange sounds coming from her room would be given 1000 gold coins as reward. For years together, someone or the other kept coming to stay in the room for one night and solve the mystery. But the atmosphere in the room used to become so frightening after midnight that even the bravest used to come running out of the room shouting and yelling. During this period, the servants, maid, and the bodyguards of the king continued hearing the sounds of weeping, winning, and someone walking in the room. All this made the king give up all his hopes of getting his daughter back. At a little distance from the water palace, there lived an old widow with her only son under a banyan tree. Her son was very handsome, courageous, and brave, but she was so poor that she had not been able to get him educated. It was due to her extreme poverty that a reward of 1,000 gold coins seemed quite alluring. So she decided to pass one night in the room of the Queen Indumati and find the secret of the strange happenings taking place there. She thought that if she succeeded in her mission, she would be able to pass the rest of her life comfortably with her son. And if she had failed, she was not going to become poorer than what she already was. Her son had reached the age of adolescence and he would be able to manage his bread and butter somehow. Despite having planned all this, she was not able to gather enough courage to bring her proposal to King's notice. But when she learnt that it was out of fear that people had stopped going to the room to find out the secret of the strange sounds of weeping and winning, she herself went to the king and met him. She told the king that she had prepared to go into the room and pass the night in order to solve the mystery. The king warned her and said that anything could happen. She could even die out of fear. But all these things could not deter the widow. She said, "We are so poor that we have nothing to eat. So we live or die, it doesn't matter in any case." But the king was not prepared to allow her to do this job. Then the son of the widow said to the king with folded hands, "Maharaj, please do not worry. I am son of a brave soldier. Though I am too young, I do not fear anyone. If you don't allow my mother, I am prepared to pass one night in that room and solve the mystery." The name of the son of the widow was Bhimshan. The king agreed to allow him. The widow tried to dissuade her son from accepting the challenging job, but her son was adamant and did not listen to his mother. Finally, Bhimshan was taken to the room. He was told that he could not take everything to the room he needed. Bhimshan said, "All I need is a pitcher full of drinking water, a bedding, and some food to eat." The lock of the door of Queen Indumati's room was opened, and all things asked by Bhimshan were kept in the room. Bhimshan kept walking around in the room and inspecting each and everything, and this he did quite till late in the night. Then, making himself comfortable in the bed of Queen Indumati, he began thinking about the future of his widow mother. And around midnight, he began hearing some strange and whispering sounds. Suddenly, he experienced a gust of wind filled with odor which spread around in the room. Also, he began experiencing a kind of strange presence of someone invisible in the room. He got frightened, looked around, but could see none. Suddenly, he was dumbstruck to see a woman in the room clad in snow white clothes. She was moving towards him, reaching close to him. She took form of an apparition. Apparition is a ghost or an image of a dead person. And said, "Who are you? Why are you lying in my bed? Get up and leave this palace at once. That demon must be coming. He will kill you also. This cruel demon has already snatched away my flower-like daughter. Oh God, I don't know where my daughter is. He must have killed her and eaten her. Oh, my daughter, my lovely daughter." Saying this, the apparition began wailing loudly. In the beginning, Bhimshan was frightened to see the apparition, but seeing her wailing, he understood it was the apparition of Queen Indumati, which was being so restless for her daughter. Bhimshan wanted to say something to the apparition of the queen, but before he could even open his mouth, he saw at a little distance from the bed that the floor of the room cracked with a loud sound, and the floor began opening slowly. And next moment, there was a big hole in the floor, and a sweet smell began rising from it and filling the room. Slowly, a huge sized demon was taking form before him. As soon as the demon had assumed his form, the apparition of the queen disappeared. The demon looked around in the room and said to Bhimshan, I am very hungry. Either give me something to eat or I shall eat you. First, Bhimshan was frightened to see the demon, and then he remembered that some good food and sweets were kept in the room. He immediately got out of the bed and brought before the demon all the food, sweets, and a pitcher filled with water. Then he said, O king of demons, please eat these things and assuage your hunger. The demon sat there on the floor. He gobbled the food and sweets and drank the water of the pitcher in one gulp. Then he said, Now I must leave. Saying this, the demon began getting down into the hole. A little surprised and also a little frightened, Bhimshan began following the demon. At the bottom of the hole, Bhimshan saw a new kind of world altogether. There was a river, the water of which was like melted gold. The mountain tops looked like golden peaks. There were lush green fields all around, full of colorful flowers, and huge demon was moving through these fields, caressing the beautiful flowers. Having crossed the fields, he reached a forest which was full of golden trees. As soon as the demon reached there, a flock of birds began fluttering around him. All the birds were warbling happily. Some birds came and sat on his head, some on his shoulders. It seemed the demon was well acquainted with them. Bhimshan was following the demon stealthily, and in order to keep a memory of the place, Bhimshan picked a black rose and hid it in his pocket. Crossing that forest, the demon reached another forest which was full of silver trees. And as soon as the demon entered the forest, all the animals of the forest came running and surrounded him. Bhimshan saw the demon patting all the animals gently and talking to them. There also Bhimshan picked a fruit and hid in his pocket. Thus, having met all his friends and bidden them farewell, the demon reached a grand palace. Bhimshan followed him there too and saw the demon lying supine. Soon the demon was asleep and snoring like a pig. Hiding in a place, Bhimshan was keeping an eye on the demon, and after being convinced that the demon was deep asleep, he moved from there and began inspecting other rooms. Suddenly, he saw a golden cage hanging by a hook in the next room, in which there was a beautiful starling hopping around. Bhimshan went and stood near the cage and began looking at the bird curiously. The starling stopped hopping for a moment and said, Who are you? Why have you come here? This demon will kill you. It will be better for you to leave this place before he wakes up. No, I shall not leave this place until my purpose is served. Saying this, Bhimshan narrated his story in detail to the starling, which was talking in human voice. The starling listened to Bhimshan intently and then said, You may be thinking that I am a bird, but I am in fact Princess Chandramukhi, lying in this cage in the form of a starling. One night, when I was too small a child, I was sleeping with my mother. Suddenly there was a gust of wind, and it was so powerful that I slipped out of my mother's bed and fell on the floor of the room. As soon as my feet touched the ground, this demon appeared before my mother and began asking her to give him something to eat. There was nothing in the room. My mother got so frightened to see this demon that she died of heart failure on the spot. Then this demon advanced towards me to eat me, but probably it was because of my beauty that he changed his mind. He brought of my beauty that he changed his mind. He brought me to this palace, transformed me into a bird, and imprisoned me. He comes to me every day, brings me back to my original form, and talks to me affectionately. He says that he would marry me and make me his queen when I grow up. For the last so many years, he has been waiting for me to grow up. Just yesterday, he was telling me that I had grown up and he would marry me this very month. I don't want atrocities he would subject me to if I don't succeed in getting out of this palace, this place, this very month. Can you free me from his clutches and take me to my father? He must be very sad. Hearing the starling speak, thus Bhimshan asked her to have patience and said, Princess, have patience. Rest assured that I shall free you from the clutches of this demon and take you to your father. But you shall have to cooperate with me. I am prepared to do anything, said the starling. All right then, said Bhimshan. Now, when the demon comes to see you, you talk to him very affectionately and tell him that you are ready to marry him. Also, tell him that you are getting greatly troubled by fear when he goes away, leaving you alone in the cage. Then you should ask the demon as to how to call him when encountered with some kind of danger. The starling agreed to act on the advice of Bhimshan. Next day, Bhimsen hid himself behind the nearby bushes. The demon came, took the starling out of the cage, and brought her back to her original form. He was exceedingly happy to see that she looked devastatingly beautiful. As already planned, Chandramukhi began talking to the demon, displaying great love for him. This made the demon very happy. Both were talking to each other with great love, and in the process, Princess Chandramukhi managed to get the secret out of him that the demon and the parrot, which was in silver cage, were two bodies with one soul, and also that the parrot would start chattering if irritated, and the parrot's chattering would be an indication to the demon to rush for her rescue. As soon as the demon left, Bhimshan came to the cage of the starling from behind the bushes and said to her, Princess Chandramukhi, now I am going to kill the parrot in order to kill the demon. Be on your alert. The starling agreed to act accordingly. It was evening time, and Bhimsen, thinking the demon must be away somewhere, came to the silver cage of the parrot. He quickly opened the door of the cage, caught hold of the parrot and took it out. Then, holding one leg of the parrot, he began twisting it. The parrot began screaming with pain, and the demon, hearing the parrot scream, rushed towards the cage. Meanwhile, Bhimsen twisted the other leg also of the parrot. Now the demon had his both the legs broken. But the demon had magical powers. Despite having been crippled, he reached the cage of the parrot with lightning speed. But Bhimshan too was very quick. He immediately twisted the neck of the parrot. The parrot became lifeless, and simultaneously the demon also fell off the door on the floor of the room and died. Having killed the demon, Bhimsen took the starling out of the cage, and as soon as he touched its feathers, Chandramukhi returned to her original form. Both became very happy, and leaving the magical garden of the demon, they reached the bottom end of the tunnel through which Bhimsen had come the other day. But they were not able to manage to reach the mouth of the tunnel. Thoroughly disappointed, they sat on a big stone. Suddenly they felt a gust of wind carrying very sweet smell with it. It was the same sweet smell that Bhimsen had experienced in the room of Queen Indumati, and next moment he saw the same apparition clad in snow white clothes. Bhimsen recognized her. It was the apparition of Queen Indumati. Exhibiting great affection, she said, "My dear children, don't get nervous. Follow me and you will reach the same room." Princess Chandramukhi opened her mouth to say something, but Bhimsen signaled her to keep silence. The apparition was moving slowly, and Bhimsen and Chandramukhi were following it. Thus, dragged by some kind of invisible power, they came up to the room, and as soon as they stepped on the floor, the mouth of the tunnel disappeared and the surface of the floor became even. Reaching back safely, they took a sigh of relief. Since Bhimsen hadn't slept for nights together, he began yawning. He said to Princess Chandramukhi, "Now I am feeling sleepy." Saying this, he got into the bed. Soon, Bhimsen and Chandramukhi were lying fast asleep in the same bed. They remained sleeping quite till late in the morning. Meanwhile, King Chandramadhav opened the doors of the room to see what had happened, what had become of Bhimsen. He couldn't believe his eyes to see Bhimsen and Princess Chandramukhi sleeping together. In the meantime, Bhimsen and Chandramukhi opened their eyes. King Chandramadhav's happiness knew no bounds. He called out his ministers and servants and informed them happily that brave Bhimsen had been successful in his efforts and Princess Chandramukhi was back. And the best part of the whole sequence of happenings is that Princess Chandramukhi had fallen in love with Bhimsen since Bhimsen had saved Chandramukhi from a certain disaster and catastrophe. King Chandramadhav gave his daughter's hand in marriage to Bhimsen. Having become an heir to King Chandramadhav's throne, Bhimsen began living happily in the water palace with Queen Chandramukhi. He brought his widow mother also in the palace. He led the rest of his life with great pleasure. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Thank you. This story reading is from this book 44 Fantasy Stories, selected stories of courage, valor, wisdom, and moral value. I hope you enjoy this brief reading and have a sound sleep. Relax your mind and simply be joyful through the day. Have a beautiful day. Take care. Bye bye. Good night.